Greetings, friends. I'm Rajashree Maa, and I want to welcome you back to the Wisening Way with Rajashree Maa. For those of you who may not know, I'm the founder of a lineage of Reiki called Kali-Ki Reiki, which honors the force of the divine feminine, which is a force of pure love, and also of the wisdom school, where we study this love force energy. So today, what I want to do is begin to introduce you to our inner selves, our inner being, what is sometimes referred to as the subtle body, the subtle energies within our physical body and within our sense of self and our connection with the universe. So these are often referred to as the chakras and the nadis, or the energetic channels within the human system. And we are going to talk about those, we're going to experience them. But I wanted to start at a more basic level and just say that although we don't think about it very often, most of what happens in our lives and in our existence happens on a subtle level. Subtle meaning non-physical, right? Although we are often and almost constantly involved in activity, unless we're sleeping, and that too is a kind of activity, our mind is almost always on, isn't it? And our mind is not something that we can see. Yes, we can see the brain, we can measure neurological functioning to a certain degree, but we can't really see our thoughts. We can't actually feel them like we can feel the movement of a muscle. And yet, our thoughts are a very dynamic, moving part of our being. Our thoughts include how we see ourselves, who we understand ourselves to be, how we see others, and who we understand others to be. So our thoughts are part of what is often called in yoga our subtle body. It's one layer of our subtle body called the mental layer. And then there's another layer, and that layer is sometimes called the pranic layer, and prana just meaning the energy of our life force. And the prana, the energy of our life force, is considered to be very subtle. It's not something we can measure. Now, we know it's there because we know that only by having this life force do we get to function at all in this world, right? When the body dies, right, then part of what happens is it's separated from its life force, yeah? And so if, goddess forbid, I were to drop dead right now, right, you'd see my body slump. Probably my eyes would close, or maybe I'd have a look of shock before I went, who knows? But I would no longer be operating through the subtle body. Let me correct that. I would no longer be operating my physical being through the subtle body. What actually happens to the subtle body after death, that's something we can talk about in another class. Okay, so in Reiki, we talk a lot about life force, that subtle energy that enlivens us, that quickens us. You can call it spirit, but the word that we tend to use is life force. And in Kali-Ki Reiki, we actually call it love force, because we really believe that everything arises out of love. And that love is, if there is a universal substance in the universe, it's love. That love we address as limitless. We call it limitless love. But when we come into form, when our spirit, our soul, our life force enters into a particular body and is enlivened, that we call the prana. Another word in Sanskrit is Shakti. It's the energy of the divine feminine. And then in Kali-Ki Reiki, we call it the love force. And it is indeed the energy of the divine mother. And it's our energy. So, how do we begin to have actual experiences of this love force, of this prana, of our subtle being? Well, as I described before, thinking is an expression of the subtle being, right? Because it's not happening in the physical material world, and yet it certainly will affect often how we respond in the physical material world. And actually, our emotional self, right, that also affects how we respond in the physical world. And it is also affected, our emotions are affected by what happens in the external world. Still, emotions are very internal and they're not physical, right? So it's our emotional mental being that is composed, if you will, of this pranic life force energy. Now, it's not composed by matter, it's composed by energy. And I'm sure that you all have some familiarity with the system called the chakras, right? The energy centers that run along a central channel in the body. But they're not of the body, right? They're centers of energy that affect how the body works and how it functions. In some ways, they're like the control center because they are the distributors, if you will, of this love force energy. So the chakras have actually a very important function in our being. But can we see them? Can we measure them with medical instruments? No, we can't. So why even consider them, or why even, do we talk about them? Because we actually can see, feel, know, experience them through our inner senses. What is that? Well, I would posit to you that you have inner eyes as well as outer eyes. What do I mean by that? Well, just consider, whenever you are daydreaming, imagining, visualizing, dreaming at night, there's this sense of seeing, right? You see things. Sometimes you see color, sometimes you don't. But that's not the external eyes. It's not the physical eyes. It's an inner sense. Now, this inner sense is what is connected with the visions of the great masters. And as we know, many of the great masters, of the great wizened ones, right, will have images of other beings, other dimensions, other celestial experiences, and they bring those back to us. They can talk to us about what happens after physical death. And it's because they've seen something, not necessarily with these physical eyes. Similarly, we can hear things internally. We can feel things, we can sense things, we can know things. All the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, right? They're all inner senses. So today, I'm going to invite us to tune into our inner senses. When we can tune into these inner senses, we have a more whole picture and sense of who and what we are. That's transformative. That's wisening. Okay, so first I want to start by teaching you what we call the Kali-Ki four-part breath. Now, this is a breath that involves some visualization. It involves holding your breath for a little while, and it involves just regulating your breath. Breath regulation is what in yoga is called pranayama practice. The practice of regulating or controlling the breath. The breath itself, of course, is a physical carrier or transmitter of this life force, love force energy. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to just follow along. If you're in a place where you can close your eyes, you can also cross your legs or have your feet flat on the floor. It's always good to have feet flat on the floor when we're doing any kind of pranayama or meditation practice. Perhaps the palms are facing upward. Now, if you're not in a place to let your eyes close, just go through this with your imagination. But if you can let the eyes close, that's wonderful. So go ahead and first just take a couple of nice deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, and let the body settle in to wherever it is that you are seated. Feel your sits bones rooting in. Let your spine get as straight as it comfortably can. So if you're laying back, try to sit up just a little bit, because the love force energy flows more smoothly, more clearly through the area of the spine, right? When you're seated upright. Now, imagine a point about 6 or 8 inches above your crown. We call this the akasha. It's actually a subtle chakra center. It's not located in our bodies, right? But it is kind of the outline, if you will, or the highest point of our energy field. Sometimes it's larger than other times. That's fine. But just imagine it about 6 or 8 inches above your crown. Okay. And then also become aware of what's called the Muladhara or the root chakra. It's basically at the base of the spine, but it's in the perineal area, but it's central and it's a little bit inside. Okay. And we're going to be imagining energy running back and forth between these two places. And it's running back and forth on a channel that in Kali-Ki Reiki in the Wisdom School, we call the soul line. So those of you who are familiar with yoga and the Sushumna, the soul line includes the Sushumna, but it extends infinitely above and infinitely below. Okay, so now imagine that point about 6 or 8 inches above your head, the akasha. And then from there, imagine that you're looking up, not with your physical eyes, but with your inner eyes. You don't even have to tilt your head to imagine you're looking upward from that akasha. And above you, maybe 50, 60 feet above you, outside of the top of the building that you're in, if you are in a building, imagine like a personal golden sun or sphere above you. And it's a golden sphere of light. And as the light and the warmth stream down and touch your akasha, you feel this radiance and you feel like it's continuing down. So you start to inhale and you go down that central channel, that soul line, with that radiating light down to your Muladhara chakra. And you pause there, you hold the breath there. You may not be able to hold as long as I'm going to speak for right now, but see how long you can hold. Okay. And as that ray comes down through your soul line, actually, you might see pulsing energy centers lighting up on the way down. Those are the chakras. Now, again, you're still holding your breath, or you're holding your breath again. And then imagine, take your consciousness to the very core of the earth. You know, the core of the earth is fiery molten magma, right? And imagine that from her core, the earth inhales, and that prompts you to exhale, and your energy continues down that soul line through the layers of earth, through her soil, rock, roots, water, deep rock and crystalline structures, all the way down to that fiery core. And here, whatever energy you brought with you gets purified, refined, alchemized, transformed. And you pause at the end of that exhalation. And then imagine as Earth's core purifies your energy, then Earth exhales, and that prompts you to inhale, taking that cleaned, refreshed, purified, transformed energy back up through all the layers of Mother Earth, back up into your root chakra, up the soul line, back up to Akasha. And you pause. And then once again, when you feel the rays of that golden sun above you shining down, you catch them now on an exhalation, and they cascade around your physical body in all directions. And this washes your aura, your energy field clean. So those are the 4 breaths. The first one comes from that sun above and the akasha, and you inhale down to your root chakra. You pause. Earth then inhales, and that prompts you to exhale through her layers down to the very core. There, everything is transformed. She exhales and you inhale back up through her layers, bringing refreshed energy to earth, and then rising up through your own form, refreshing your chakras, your energy, and then up to Akasha above. And as you feel that grace radiating down, you exhale and your aura is washed clean. And it's like you're in a capsule of flowing, glowing light. So I'm going to guide us through this now a little bit more quickly. So please let your eyes close. Imagine that personal golden sun way above your crown. And as the rays pour down to Akasha above the ground, you inhale, taking the energy down through the soul line, lighting up the chakras, down to Muladhara chakra at the base, and pause. Earth inhales, and you exhale through all her layers, down to her very core, where everything is transformed, transmuted. And then she exhales purified energy, and you take that up on an inhalation, back through all the layers of the earth, back through your own energetic layers, back up to Akasha, where once again you catch that golden sun radiating down, and you exhale, and your aura is washed clean. We'll do this just one more time. Eyes closed. Sun above radiates down. At Akasha, you begin to inhale. Down that soul line, everything begins to light up, to activate. You pause. Earth inhales, and you exhale through all her layers down to the very core, where everything is transformed and purified. She exhales and you inhale, bringing fresh energy up in through the layers of the earth, through the layers of your own body and your energy field, all the way up to Akasha above. And finally, as you feel grace descending once more, you exhale and your aura is washed clean. This is a very powerful breath. And by the way, you want to do your inhalations and your exhalations through your nose, but you can put sound to it, what we call the Ujjayi breath, so that it almost sounds like a light snore. Yeah, that actually adds power to this. So this Kali-Ki 4-part breath is very powerful in that it awakens the inner energies, the inner chakras, and then it cleanses and purifies. What it does not serve gets released, and it gets released into the core of the earth, where actually it's like fuel for her, and she transforms it. And then you inhale this purified energy back up. You're cleansing the earth as you go. You're cleansing your physical and your subtle body as you go, all the way back up to Akasha once more. And then as the energy descends, it washes around your aura 360, all sides, creating protection, wholeness, and healing. So if you were able to experience the power of this breath at all, it was because you were working with your inner senses, your inner sensations, your subtle energies, right? Because really, we didn't do anything physically other than inhale and exhale. But I'm willing to guess that most of you feel a lot different than you would if you had just sat for those 5 or 10 minutes inhaling and exhaling. So this is what happens when we begin to tune in to our energetic system. And many of you may already feel like healing is taking place. This breath can be used anytime, any place, and you only breathe as powerfully as you're able to in any given moment. And it is very balancing, centering, and at the same time, it's energizing. Okay, so that's an example of healing, right? Through breath work and tuning in to the subtle body. So I'm going to invite you to do one more experience. And this time I'm going to invite you to really feel the energy of the chakras. Now in Kali-Ki Reiki, we work with several more chakras than in the traditional yogic system. So as I take us through each one of these, I'll describe where it's located in the body. I'll name a color that is often visualized. But if you don't see a color, don't worry about it. All you need to do is bring your attention to this area of your body and feel the energy within it. And often people feel, there might be a tingling, there might be a sense of a glowing light, there might be a warmth. Whatever you experience is absolutely fine because we all experience and process the chakras a little differently. Okay. So let's actually begin now at the base. We'll start from the bottom and work up this time. We're still working along that soul line. But we're going to start at what we call the Prithvi chakra. Prithvi means earth. And this is a chakra below our root chakra. It's not in our body, right? It's about 6 or 8 inches below our body, just like Akasha is 6 or 8 inches above. And between those two chakras, the Prithvi and the Akasha, that is where our aura, our human energy field lies. So we start there, and you can just imagine as best you can, 6 or 8 inches beneath you. If you're seated in a chair, you can imagine you're sitting on the earth, and it's like 6 or 8 inches into the earth. And imagine kind of like just glowing reddish brown embers there. Very earthy, like um like like a campfire, right? Late at night. Imagine you're sitting around a campfire late at night and the fire has died down and it's just the glow of the embers. See if you can just have some visualization of this and maybe even feel the warmth and the connection with our earth. And now imagine that glowing light of those reddish brown embers kind of rises up and meets the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, that is now internal inside the body, but it's not of the body, right? And around the perineal area. And here you can imagine a deep red color. And you might even see or picture a deep red flame. This is the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra. It connects us to our ancestors, to our lineages. And it's our sense of grounding and anchoring, as also is the Prithvi chakra. And then imagine that red flame rising up just a little bit into the area of the physical womb in the woman, which in the man is actually the energetic womb, our creativity. This is in the pelvic region. It's often called Swadhisthana chakra. And the color here is reddish orange. You can picture these chakras as lotuses. And with this one has 6 petals. But imagine this reddish orange flame. And imagine the flame kind of flowing, almost liquidy in its flowing, because this is where our creative juices lie. It's also related to our sexuality and our productivity, our creativity and our productivity in life. And then imagine that reddish orange flame going up to an area along the soul line. just behind the navel. We call this Nabi chakra. And the color here is more of a deep orange. You can think of it as like biting into the most ripe, juicy orange. And that Nabi chakra, our navel chakra, of course, it controls the gut, the intestines, etc. And it also is connected to our bodily identity, knowing ourselves as this being that we feel and see in a mirror when we look. And imagine this deep orange flame rising up a little higher to the solar plexus region, but again, internal. Yeah. And here, the flame turns into a golden sunburst yellow. We call this the Manipura chakra. And of course, it controls the organs surrounding it, which would include the liver, the kidneys. And it is also our psychological sense of self, our identities, who we see ourselves as being. It includes our self-concept as well, how confident and free we are within ourselves. And just see this as sparkling yellow flame. And then up a little higher, it's like that yellow flame now becomes emerald green. And that's at the heart center, right between the breastbones. Yeah, but again, medial in the body. The energy here of the heart, Anahata chakra, is about our loving connections. Our connections with those who we come in contact with on a daily basis, those who are at distance from us, those who we have loved but have passed from this world. And it is related to our ability to love, this kind of beautiful relational love with our family, with our children, our co-workers, our communities. And then that green flame rises up to the high heart center, right here between the breastbone and the throat. We call this Karuna chakra. It's still love, but it's loving compassion. And here the flame is turquoise. So just imagine a glimmering, gleaming turquoise flame. And feel compassion first for yourself, for all that you've been through, all your struggles, whatever your challenges are. Have compassion for them. Compassion for all the effort you've put in to figure things out, to make life good for yourself, for those you love. Have compassion for yourself. And then compassion for others. And not just for those that you know and love, but compassion for the struggles, the experiences, the presence of all other beings, human, animal, all beings everywhere. And that turquoise then, which I want you to see this, this is a deep green turquoise jewel. Okay, that rises up to our throat chakra called Vishuddhi chakra. And this is a deep cobalt blue flame. And it's just rising up ever so slightly. And the throat it's the seat of our communication and our ability to express our truth. So often, especially with women, the throat gets congested. The energies of the throat chakra gets congested because we struggle to speak our own truth. And so as we do this, and as you see that beautiful blue light shining, feel yourself coming closer and closer to your own truth and to the power to express it. To express it lovingly, yes, but the power to express. Very good. And now that blue, just ever so subtle, it's no longer a flame, it's just blue color. And it rises up to a point between the brows, but again in the center of the head. This is the third eye, the Ajna chakra. And the light here is lavender. And you can picture kind of a wispy lavender. You can picture it as a flame, but you might want to picture it like the gossamer wings of a dragonfly. And this is our knowledge. It encompasses both our intellectual knowledge and understanding and our intuitive knowing, our wisdom. Ajna chakra. And then above that, in the center of the forehead, but again, internal, this is the Bindu chakra. The color here is just a silvery glow. And it is at this point that we begin to connect in with an even more subtle layer of our being, where we begin to connect in to that deeper knowing and wisdom and the realization that we are the divine love. We are that limitless love. And so this is the beginning point of our understanding, our merging, our connecting. And as that silvery light glows and rises up, it connects with what's called Saraswara chakra at the crown of the head, also known as the 1,000-petaled lotus. And here we can imagine 1,000 petals of pure white light, each one opening, each one representing the many that are always part of the one, the many, the individual lotus petals that actually are the one, that emanate from the one and also express the one, the 1,000-petaled lotus. And from there up to Akasha, colorless, pure, no form, just simply beingness. Now, just do a little scan of your body, of your mind, of your heart. Just notice what you feel, what might be different. And then notice if there's any area in your body, physical or at the chakras, that just needs a little more light. And take lightness to that area. Once again, bring your attention down to Prithvi beneath and watch light rising up through that soul line, lighting up each chakra along its way, from Prithvi to Muladhara at the root, to Swadhisthana in the pelvis, to Nabi behind the navel, to Manipura at the solar plexus, to Anahata at the heart, to Karuna in the high heart, to Shuddhi at the throat, third eye, Ajna, Bindu, center of forehead, the 1,000-petaled lotus, and Akasha above. And once again, just like we did in the Kali-Ki breath, inhale from root now up to Akasha, and exhale, and from Akasha, feel light surrounding your aura. Continue that. Inhaling up from root or even from Prithvi, up through all the chakras, and then at Akasha, washing the aura clean. Now, if you'd like to explore any of this further, you might want to check out my guided meditation, Kali-Ki Chakra Flame Meditation, on the website, www.thewisdomschool.us. Or listen to this program again. Practice on your own. But know that you now have a sense of that internal, vibrating love force that you are. It's your energy body that is not just the physical body. Physical body, too, is composed of just energy. And that's why when we work with the energy body, it helps to heal the physical body. So let yourself practice. Let yourself stay immersed in this energy. And if you're not feeling a lot right now, take a break, try it again. Sooner or later, you will know who you are from the inside out. Thank you. Much love. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May we know the peace within our own hearts and within the hearts of all beings. The light within me recognizes and is magnified by the light within you. Namaste.